Most people's life stories are lost forever, but yours doesn't have to be. For tonight's episode of Life Story, I'm thrilled to be able to interview Virginia Lyman Howe. Her story is going to be intertwined with the Quabbin Reservoir. She was in a documentary about that, which we're going to list at the end of the show, as far as, so if people want to see the documentary in which she performs and talks about the Quabbin then. But to start with, let's start with where you were born and tell us a bit about what your early life was like, who your parents were, and a bit about your siblings, your early life.
I was born in Athol, Massachusetts, January 23rd, 1918. And my parents, we all moved to Hardwick after that. When I was 2 years old. And my father's name was Clarence Lyman. My mother's name was Edna Pearl Burgess Lyman. And we worked very hard we had a chicken farm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, many chickens. And my father had an egg route, and he sold eggs, and also sold the poultry for meat. And
did he sell it to any chain, the grocery stores or places like that?
Mainly to individuals who, it could have been on the egg route. People would like to have meat too.
So he sold chickens and eggs.
Right.
And how big was your farm? How large was it?
I don't know how many acres, but it was a lot of acres, because we had a cow and a team of horses, which, for pasture and hay for winter.
Uh-huh.
And
how many were in your family besides you?
I had two brothers.
Oh,
one was 2 years younger than I, and the other one was 10 years younger than
I see. Okay. And so did you have a school in your area?
Yes, it has Southworth Mill School is where I spent the first 4 grades.
Uh-huh.
And that was also taken for the Quabbin Reservoir.
The school was taken as part. Was your father's farm taken as part of the?
Yes.
And so what did he do after that?
He moved to West Brookfield, and he, at that time, he was in the oil business. He sold fuel oil, gasoline, kerosene.
Oh.
He built up a business there in West Brookfield.
Oh, he was quite a businessman. Did you have a high school? Did you go to high school or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to high school in Hardwick, and in Gilbertville was where the high school was, but that was part of Hardwick.
Uh-huh, okay. And Hardwick was one of the towns they took also for the...
Not all of it.
Uh-huh.
It was one of 7 partial towns that they took. They took 4 complete towns and partial of 7 others.
Okay. And so then after you left high school, what did you do? What kind of work did you do? Were you working?
A variety of jobs. I had I went, let's see, at the time of the war, I was in the Charles G. Allen Company, was in the office, which is a machine shop and foundry in Barrie.
Uh-huh. And you were a secretary or
I was in the office. I was well, I don't know what the title would be, but it was keeping track of things that they used so that when they got low, they could replace it.
Uh-huh. And then how long did you work before you were married? And when I know you were married.
I was married young, so I didn't work until I didn't start work until after I was married.
Oh, you didn't go to work until after you. How old were you when you were married?
18.
18. Okay, so you finished high school and then you married.
Yeah.
And what was your husband's name?
Arthur Blackmer.
Arthur
Blackmer.
Okay.
Blackmer.
And what was his profession?
He worked also in the Charles G. Allen Company, and then there was another foundry that paid better down in Indian Orchard.
Uh-huh.
So he and some others moved to there. I mean, worked there.
Okay. And I think you told me when we first talked, the first time I met you, that he also had another interesting job.
He worked for a doctor as a chauffeur and a maintenance man or anything they wanted. He worked for Dr. Fowler in Barrie.
Dr. Fowler?
Fowler.
He must have been a famous doctor of that, from that area.
Mm.
And how long was he employed, and then did you have any children with him? I think you were going to tell me about your interesting story.
Well, we were married for 10 years and didn't have any children. Mm-hmm. And so I had the opportunity to adopt a girl, baby girl. And she was only a month and 3 days old when we got her. Mm-hmm. And and then 10 years later, I had a son.
10 years after not having any children and adopting one, you had a son. Yeah. Wow. And then how long did your husband live after your son was born? I think you mentioned something about that story.
Let's see, my husband died when my son was 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
And he right away, he started a paper route. He got up 4 o'clock in the morning to deliver papers before he went to school.
Your son, yeah.
Yes. And he did that until he graduated from high school.
Okay, and through that paper route, he met someone, I think you told me, an interesting story about that, about who your son delivered the papers for and who you...
Oh, yes. At that time, because my first husband died. And
how did he die? Let's cover that. That was a very tragic story.
It was a result of an automobile accident.
And he was driving the doctor's car and
right.
had an accident.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad. Mm-hmm. And then, so your son, through his paper route, met whom?
He had, of course, a lot of customers, and he, this particular one wanted to go on vacation. And so he wanted my son to deliver his papers while he was gone. And I didn't.
Parents, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know him, but I knew his father because he worked in the shop.
Uh-huh.
And
Did you still have the job working in the shop? Not to interrupt your story, but
yes, I did.
oh, okay.
During the war, when I worked there.
Right. And so your son was delivering the papers.
And he delivered the papers to this Henry Howe, his parents, while he was gone on vacation.
Uh-huh.
So when he came back, he picked the berries and brought them down to me as a sort of, payment for
For your wonderful son, yeah.
And he did that for a while, and then after a while, he brought his parents down. We all went out to lunch. And we did that several times, and so eventually he asked just me.
And then you married him?
Yes.
And how long were you two married?
We were married in 1971.
And what I think you told me, what was his profession? He was
He was also, he worked in also into Allen's shop, but he was in the service.
Uh-huh.
He was in the Navy.
Uh-huh. And what kind of a profession was he in? I think, he worked with you also.
Well, he not with me, but in the same shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, how long were you two married?
We were married in 1971. He passed away in 2011.
Oh, so you had quite a long time together.
Yeah.
Did you travel?
No, we didn't travel a lot. I mean, we had a camper up in Vermont. He was from Vermont. The family was from Vermont. And we had a camper on our land up there. So we used to go up there like weekends or something. So that was, we did go out to Indiana when my son was he was in college.
Oh, what school did he go to in Indiana?
I don't really know what the name of it
University of Indiana, Purdue, one of those. Anyway, okay.
And we went out there to see him. And then we went to Florida once. We went to Texas when my daughter was in Texas.
Oh, your daughter lived in Texas?
She was married and they lived in Texas. And then her husband had to go in the service, and so when he got stationed, then she went there, and then he had to go overseas, I guess, and so she came back home for a little while, and then she got work up. She's worked for the VA ever since she was, before she graduated in high school. In the summer, she worked at the VA in Northampton.
Which VA?
Veterans Administration.
Oh, in what city? In which location?
In Northampton. She started.
That's a big VA hospital, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Northampton. Right.
Yeah.
And so she worked for them till is that how she met her husband?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I know she's the reason why you moved here. She lives in this area.
Yes.
How long have you been in Cornerstone?
About, it'll be 3 years in August.
3 years. So you lived in that area up until 3 years ago?
No. Yes, I lived in Barry.
Barry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I moved in Barry 1940.
And so you were there till 2000.
My home is still there, but of course now they're trying to sell it.
Oh, your home's still there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Wow. So it was one of the places that wasn't taken for the Quabbin?
No, it wasn't. I mean, the things that pertained to Quabbin went through Barry, but Barry wasn't a part of the...
Oh, okay. And so I understand, how long were you employed? I know you worked quite a long while, didn't you?
Well, I worked let's see, at various jobs. I worked at a greenhouse, and then one of the last jobs was the superintendent of schools office. I worked on payroll machine.
Huh. Did you, I wanted to ask also, I know you do computer work even till this day. Mm-hmm. You've come right along with the latest technology.
Well,
I understand.
it's hard to keep up with that.
Yeah, it kind of is, but you do a lot of work with your computer still?
Yes, I've done genealogy. I've worked on 5 genealogies, and 2 of them I've gone back to England and Scotland to 1300 something.
You have, from your family?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really, what part of Scotland?
I can't tell you what the part was now. I don't know. But the genealogy was very scarce at that time. They only registered the boys. The girls weren't registered.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. That's very interesting. Oh. And did you get the information from churches and things like that? Who you've done 5 genealogies?
Of course, that never ends.
I guess it doesn't.
Well,
I can't imagine. So, any interesting information from the genealogy that you searched?
Well, we're related to the President Roosevelt's, both of them.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, your family or your husband's?
My family.
Your family's from
my mother's side.
Oh, so Roosevelt was a descendant of Scottish ancestry?
From Canadian, I don't know I don't know about Scotland, but for Canada. He was my mother was from Canada.
Oh, your mother was from Canada. Oh, I see. It's from her side.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The other thing I understand that you're into, other than computers, I think one of the ladies here told me that you sent out how many Christmas cards from?
I made over 150 Christmas cards this last Christmas.
Out from your computer and sent them out. And I think you may have brought us a few other things that, the other thing I wanted to ask you was, in addition to your daughter, before we get to some of the items that you're currently into now, some of the things you've made, you made that little scarf that you have around your neck?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Your son, I wanted you to touch on your grandchildren, your daughter's children and your grandchildren, in case they watch this on YouTube. They'll be able, I'd like for you to mention their names. You tell me about your grandchildren.
My daughter and her husband had 2 boys, so I have two grandsons. Mm-hmm. My son and his wife had 2 girls.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow. So where are the grandchildren grown now? Are they in school?
No, they've all been to college and graduated.
Oh, they have.
And
what, your son, I think you told me your son became a psychologist.
Right.
And he's at one of the schools in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back to your, what are some of the items that you brought to show us that you've made? I know you're into quilting.
I have done quilting, Yeah, I've done a lot of different things.
You have? Well, touch on a few of them then, and if you brought some, let's see them.
This is one that I made. It is,
Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, that is really beautiful. What's that pattern called?
the work is Huck weaving. It's a Swedish weaving.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And my daughter and I.
How long did it take to make that?
Oh my goodness. You don't stick with it for hours as a rule.
Oh, really? Oh,
So,
that's beautiful. And how many quilts have you made?
oh, I don't know.
Oh, really? Did you do a lot of them when you were in Barry? It's a nice thing to do to pass time, of course.
Yes,
but
well,
very tedious. I'm envious of your patience.
well, if you like something, why you stick with it.
Right. No, you're right. And what is this other item that you brought?
This is a quilling. Quilling, and it's made with paper.
Oh,
Strips of paper, and you put it in a needle and turn it, and then you.
oh, that is exquisite. Oh, that is really beautiful. Oh, I love the pattern too. Very beautiful. That looks like that would be a little difficult.
Well, I made several of those, of course.
Have? Oh, and do you give them away as gifts or?
I have.
Uh-huh. You should make some, they should have a gift shop here for people. I would buy one of those. That's beautiful. So anything else that you're into? What's the latest thing you're doing with your computer?
Well, I do some of and the genealogy, and I look up things. I hear people say, "Where's this?" or and I can look it up, and then I can let them know,
Oh, that's great. So you do a service for the other people here.
well, I'm not a service morality. I call it a service. It's just a fun thing.
Okay. Well, all right. We're almost, I think we've covered everything. You've had a very fascinating life, and I know you're still going to do something else. So, in closing, is there anything else that I've forgotten to cover? That I know you've had such a fascinating life.
Well, I can't think of anything here. But I do like it here.
You do?
Yes.
Yes. It seems like a very nice place. Everyone that I've talked to here tells me how lovely and how wonderful everybody treats them and the things they're able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never, my daughter was, of course, the one that found it, she and her husband. And,
And she lives close, right?
Yeah,
We
yes.
forgot to cover that. She lives, what, in Medway?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it nice that she can get here very easily and see.
She was here this afternoon.
Right. Well, that's great. So, again, in closing, thank you very much for doing this interview on Life Stories.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Tell me what you like, what you want from me. If it's on tonight, oh yeah.